Hello everyone, and a warm welcome to Ericsson's Imagine Live broadcast from the Showfloor in Barcelona. My name is Cecilia Attevall, and I'm here together with Ericsson CEO and President Börje Ekholm.
Thanks, Cecilia. It's great to be here.
It is. Once again, we lead the way into the show for Mobile Congress.
For sure.
So I'm really excited to be here again to talk about where we're heading as an industry. So I would really like to hear your perspective on this, your vision for the industry and how we can really drive a shift.
I think we're at a really exciting era. We're just entering, I would say, an accelerated digitalization, leveraging the cloud, AI, as well as connectivity in a new way. And I think that really provides a lot of opportunities. And as I look at it, all these technologies really form the digital stack. And one really key layer in that digital stack is connectivity. And we are here, of course, with the connectivity, but we're looking at the broader ecosystem now. And I think that's critical, how we move forward as an industry. And if we can look at the connectivity, we see the demand here for high performance, programmable networks leading the way into the future. And that will allow this industry to move from providing mobile broadband into being a platform to digitalize society, enterprises, as well as more applications for the consumer.
That's really exciting. And the foundation for it all that you talk about with those high-performing programmable networks, can you explain a little bit more how you see that and what they would enable?
I tie on to one thing you said. It's really a foundation. High-performing networks are critical. What do we mean? High-performing, it's superior coverage, it's superior speed, low latency, very cost-efficient and energy-efficient at the same time. They are the foundation. They were needed to compete in the consumer broadband, but they're going to be even more important as we move forward into AI applications. Programmability, that's actually even more important, I would argue. So what is it? Well, think about it. In the past, we've had one network for consumer applications. We had another one for mission critical. We had one for enterprises. Well, every application had their own network. In the future, it will be the same network. That means we need to manage the networks much more flexibly, much easier, and that's where the programmability come in. So it's as foundational as high performing in the future.
To enable all those new and differentiated experience.
Exactly.
That's really exciting. We recently announced some updates to our portfolio as well, ranging from, again, enabling the energy efficiency and the high-performing radios, both on massive MIMO and remote radios, new antennas, indoor solutions. But it also enabled us to do other things. We're moving into open fronthaul with new RAN Connect products. But with all of this, we can also tailor the energy efficiency in different ways. The Ericsson Silicon enables that, again, with programmability, actually. And also so that we can have enhanced automation in the network and enabling the API exposure in a whole other way. So.
And as you say, API exposure is really important as a new way to generate revenues. But I would say also you get new revenues from mission critical, you're going to get new revenues from fixed wireless access, enterprise networks, all enabled by programmability.
Exactly, so it's you're right, it has both the enabled with one network, the many applications, as you mentioned already. A good example of a customer leading the way is Telstra, really investing in their programmable network, open as well, and leading the way into transforming, modernizing their networks to cater for all these new services. And we recently had the opportunity to meet with Vicky Brady, CEO of Telstra. So let's listen to what she had to say. Telstra in Australia has recently announced a great initiative towards creating a high-performing programmable networks to provide increased value for its users. And this is an effort to also change and drive the industry forward, as in fact Telstra would be the front runner in Asia Pacific to drive this transformation through. With me here today, I have Vicky Brady, CEO of Telstra, to talk about the initiative you're endeavoring on.
Thank you, and thanks for having me, Cecilia. It's great to be here.
Thank you, such a pleasure. So When you set out for this ambitious journey, could you tell us a little bit more about why and what you're driving with this ambition and this transformation for your network?
Absolutely. And I think I sit on the optimistic side. So I see at this point in time, there's an amazing opportunity for our industry and, of course, as Telstra in Australia. But firstly, I look at any version of the future. Technology will play an important part of that, and all of that technology's got to be connected. And so as we look forward at Telstra, one of the things we're never complacent about is making sure we're at the forefront and leading in terms of what we're bringing to Australians on our mobile network. And so as we step back and look at that, we said, well, there's so much opportunity ahead, and we want to be not just have the biggest network in the country, which we do, but we want to make sure we're meeting the needs of our customers, not just today, but what we see coming. And we see their needs getting more sophisticated. And to deliver on that, we need to be right at the front. And so it is exciting. It was exciting to get to announce the extension of our partnership. And I've spent quite a bit of time talking internally and externally about what it's all about, which has been good fun. So right at the heart of it for us, it is putting in those 5G advanced capabilities, whether it's on the hardware front. So we're excited to put into our radio access network the next generation of Open RAN ready hardware, alongside, the full suite of 5G advanced software, and then how AI and automation can really play a part on our network, because I only see customer needs getting more sophisticated and our ability to really deliver customer by customer. That's exciting.
So you have been a front runner many times over, and often together with us in Ericsson. We're very proud about that and happy about that. And as you do this, as you said, it's not only about modernizing the infrastructure, but you're also adding AI capabilities into your network. And how do you see this will help you position yourself in the Australian market?
Yeah, and can I just say again, thank you. It's been a couple of decades that Telstra and Ericsson have partnered together, and it's been, it's a pretty special partnership when you can be right at the forefront of bringing things to customers. And so as I think about it, yes, we've built a very big mobile network in the country. Just to put in perspective, I think it always helps. So we cover about 3 million square kilometres of the country. It's more than double our nearest competitor. But as you said, AI and automation, it's not enough just to have a great network. Of course, we want to keep making sure our 5G network is performing, is the most resilient, is the most reliable network. And we see AI and automation as essential to that. So those capabilities as we move towards self-healing, more autonomous networks, so that the one thing we hear, customers see connectivity as such a critical thing. Any interruption to that is, not meeting their expectations. And then those use cases I spoke about, like especially our business and enterprise customers, they're looking for more and more sophistication on the network, whether it be the ability to slice the network and do different things. And so the AI and automation for me is absolutely essential in how we keep building the most reliable, the most resilient 5G network, but also with the sophistication needed to meet our customer needs.
So let's think a little bit about those customer needs from the consumer and business side. How would this network that you're putting in place now, with being programmable, with its AI capabilities and automation, how do you see it providing new value for your users?
Absolutely. Well, I have to start first off, whether you're a consumer all the way through to an enterprise customer, obviously the experience on the network matters, and at the very foundation, this investment will absolutely mean that the performance, the resilience, the reliability, it only keeps getting better on 5G. So for all of our customers, and I'm excited by later this year, they'll start to feel those benefits on the network as the investment rolls out. So that's the real foundation. And then, as you said, over and above that, it's then those capabilities. As we've been doing work looking to 2030 on our strategy. And when you talk to business and enterprise customers, they want things different in the future. And I know we're already doing some early work on slicing together, where we can actually deliver things to customers that in the past they might have needed to roll fibre to a construction site, for example, whereas we can do a slice of the 5G network to deliver that. And just as you get more and more into the capabilities that this investment provides, I think not only is it a great network, more and more the performance improves, the resilience, the reliability, but so does the sophistication.
Yes, right. We've always seen the importance of the performance of the network and the coverage and capacity, and as you said, the foundation for it all. But now as we add more capabilities, we can better tailor experiences and have the network deliver to those demands. And one of the things that we have been talking about from Ericsson's side also, and driving together with yourself, is the possibility to expose different kind of network capabilities beyond the speed and the capacity and the latency, with other kind of aspects of the network in the form of network APIs.
Yes.
And we're so happy to have Telstra being one of the leading partners for us in the joint venture with Aduna. Can you tell us a little bit more how you see the role, how you want to play in the ecosystem to drive this change, in essence?
And it is, this is, I think, one of the fundamental difference. I mean, we've been through as an industry lots of different inflection points in technology, but I think this point about opening up our networks via APIs, this is a fundamental change in how we've operated as a network. And so at Telstra, we've wanted to be, again, with the leaders in this, helping to shape it. You know, the GSMA's Open Gateway initiative, they've now got operators that represent 75% of the mobile services in the world. So this is a massive change. Operators coming together with Ericsson, with other players in the ecosystem, rather than bunkering down in our local markets. So that's huge. And we are so pleased to be one of the early partners in the Aduna joint venture, because that is creating a global platform.
It is.
And you think about, as an industry, you know, the technology players that are playing in this industry, they are global.
Yeah.
So we need to come together as an industry. And so, you know, having a way to do that through standardized APIs, having a platform like the Aduna platform to bring it to life.
Yeah.
So you've got the standardization that GSMA's been driving. You've now got the platform with Aduna and with the number of operators coming together in that. I think this is a game changer for our industry, and it's a game changer for customers. So the ability to expose, to be able to connect via APIs so that they can build what they need into their businesses and systems. But importantly too, as an industry, for us to keep investing. I mean, we all deploy a lot of CapEx.
We do.
To be able to deploy that on a sustainable basis to keep delivering, I think that this is such as I said, a game changer for our industry.
And it really is a lot about collaboration on so many different levels. Like you said, you talked about it with the standardization and the global aspect of getting the network aligned to also allow for global services, but also in essence could mean opportunities for you in your home market as well, right? Really working with your ecosystem to deliver different kinds of services to the Australian market too.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that today. I mean, I look at, you know, fraud and scams as a good example. I mean, in Australia, Telstra and the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, we've worked very closely. And again, that is through exposing, through encrypted APIs, information real time that is having a really big impact to bring down scams, to reduce fraud for Australians. So yes, the technology is so exciting, we all get excited, but the impact, the human impact is also, and that impact on society we can have is huge as well.
It is huge. And with the value of the technology, when it's exposed in the right way to give those great services, also in essence could mean different business models and different opportunities to monetize the investment that you're now doing as well into your network.
And I think that's spot on. We've been really good as an industry at delivering the technology, at providing more sophisticated services. We did it from 3G to 4G. Lots of people made a lot of money and created value over our networks. We didn't create or capture that value in the same way. And I think it's because we didn't change the commercial model.
Right.
So as we look forward, as these more advanced capabilities come again, that's why, you know, opening up the ecosystem, having the APIs to expose our network capability alongside changing the commercial models. I think that's the opportunity that's different this time for us as an industry.
And this is really the opportunity in time as well to take the action.
Correct.
So as we look forward to a couple of great days here at the World Congress in Barcelona, looking forward to try and drive this positive change for our industry together.
Thank you. Me too.
Wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to thank Vicky Brady, CEO of Telstra, for joining us here, and go back to the conversation with Börje Ekholm. As we talk about programmable networks, could you give us some example of what a service that could be enabled could be?
Yeah. I actually like what Vicky said about sophisticated connectivity. I think that captures what this is all about. It's advanced in the back end, but we have to make it easy for the user. So let me take one example and illustrate. So take, for example, AR glasses. How would that work? Well, the first thing is you have to know the application. So in this case, it's AR. Second thing is you need to know what are now the specific service levels you need. So in this case, you're going to need ultra low latency. You're going to need a very high uplink and downlink. You're going to need capacity. That will be told to the network that then will create a network slice that will happen dynamically. That will then be adjusted to the service levels required for this application. And the way to call that up is through a network API. So that means now the application developer that works on an application for AR glasses all of a sudden can call up the network API and actually use that in their application and thereby bringing that to market. So I think that's actually a very interesting, fairly simple case, but advanced in the back end. And that requires just what Vicky said, sophisticated connectivity.
It does. Thank you. Another field of our market that needs sophisticated connectivity is, of course, the enterprises, as they look to take the opportunities from networks in different ways. Could you talk a little bit about our enterprise portfolio and how it helps?
That's also an exciting area. We see 5G connectivity moving into enterprises. And it's really the demand for reliability, security, and actually the wide ecosystem that exists for cellular positions us really, really well. And what we do, we leverage, of course, our cellular technology into enterprises. And take, for example, private 5G as an example. What we see here is we announced just a few days ago, maybe it's a few weeks ago now, but the JLR, Jaguar Land Rover collaboration, where they are fitting one of their plants with this connectivity. And it allows them for IoT devices, it allows AI use cases, automation, something you couldn't really see using the fixed connectivity in the past. You need the wireless connectivity.
There's a lot more flexibility with that one too.
Yeah, no, it does give a lot more flexibility. So that's one of the enterprise use cases. But we think broader. We think new use cases in the sense of mission critical. And there is one example on the show floor here of an application that uses network APIs. It uses network slicing, just to enhance the experience for a first responder, in this case, in a stadium. But it's very exciting use cases coming up.
Yeah. Again, one network, many opportunities for the different services.
Exactly.
As we want to enable developers to come up with these new innovative services and really also enable the monetization for our customers, could you talk a little bit about how we drive that part of the change in our strategy?
Yeah, this is one area where I think we as an industry have done poorly in a way, and we as vendors have not supported the industry in a good way. We've been talking about the features of the 5G with the capabilities, but we haven't created the monetization. That's what we're in the process of doing now. So by actually forming a JV together with some of the leading operators in the world, we're now creating the supply of network API. That's the first part. That has to be in place. There is no demand until there is a supply. It's a chicken and egg problem, but we're trying to address that. So now there is a supply. It's through the JV called Aduna that we formed with some of the leading operators. We're not stopping there. We're inviting new partners to join. So KDDI just joined, but we also had an agreement with Nstream, the Canadian collaboration between the leading operators in Canada. So we're open there. We're creating that global platform now. The next step, and that's the exciting step, we're now creating the demand. So we're creating demand from application developers, enterprises, and here we're signing new channel partners like we signed Sinch and Infobip, in addition to Google Cloud and Vonage that we already had. So with this, we're now building the ecosystem around network APIs that will allow to basically the operators to sell global applications. And I think that's super exciting.
It is. And actually earlier we had the opportunity to meet with Anthony Bartolo, the CEO of Aduna, to talk more about this shift in our industry. Now we're going to dive into the world of network APIs and hear how Aduna is revolutionizing how businesses can really tap into the capabilities of the networks. Here with me today I have Anthony Bartolo, CEO of Aduna, and a warm welcome to join us in this broadcast.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Exciting, isn't it?
It is indeed. So let's start with Aduna and the basic of it all. What is Aduna all about and how are you driving the change?
Well, Aduna is effectively an ecosystem. What we're doing is we're bringing together the carrier operator ecosystem with the network API ecosystem, and we're marrying that with the demand side, which happens to be a partner, developer, platform players, and with the innovators, the builders and the makers. So we're joining a big builder group in the carrier operator ecosystem, and we're joining the makers and the innovators on top of that, and making and reducing the coefficient of friction between the for business. Yeah. You know, and it's been a real challenge in our industry to be able to develop things and make sure that they work everywhere around the world, not just in a particular location. And Aduna is setting out to reduce that coefficient of friction and expand innovation at hyperscale. And we're super excited by the proposition.
That sounds exciting. It's really like going to be connecting of a lot of different players in the ecosystem.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And they're all willing participants. The fabulous thing about what's happening with Aduna is it's quite entropic. Each of the groups know that there is a much bigger benefit by working together and coming together than staying in their own particular spaces around the world. And the world gets incredibly smaller when we do things like that. And from the innovator's perspective, they don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. They can spend all their energy innovating on new things rather than cleaning up older things.
So this is really introduced as a big enabler for a shift in our industry. So, and there's a lot of talk in our own industry, but why should businesses care?
Well, businesses should care because, firstly, most businesses have an aspiration to become bigger, not smaller. And one way to get bigger is to operate in multiple countries around the world. And when you operate in multiple countries around the world, you then start to pick up the regulatory frameworks and the different jurisdictional requirements around the world. Are you best as an enterprise to go off and learn those things, or what if somebody simplified that and basically democratized network APIs and allowed you to consume the benefits of all those networks that are in those jurisdictions, but not have to work about work around the details around that, being able to take your application or take your use case and actually allow it to be able to work anywhere around the world. That reduces the coefficient of friction with their customers and a consistent user experience. So that's why they should care, because it improves how they interface not only with their own systems around the world, but with their customers around the world.
Right. And when we talk about those network capabilities that they could then tap into, of course, we would think about aspects of the networks which has to do with shipping data, right? That's the basics of it all, with the quality and the transmission. But there are also other aspects of the network capabilities and the intelligence of the network that I know you'll be looking to expose, right?
Well, that's the one thing that the network APIs expose. I think if you take a look at our partner community that we've already engendered inside the ecosystem, which is Aduna, these partners have spent nearly or in excess of $1 trillion worth of network capabilities around the world in their networks. They are the mobile networks that we all have grown to love and enjoy. But there are also additional capabilities inside these networks that have been unseen by the consumer and the developer. And what network APIs do is expose those in a safe, efficient, secure way for them to be used in new applications down the track and new use cases. And they come out with the network API, and that's what Aduna exposes. It takes all the aggregates, all the APIs from these operators, and now presents them in a unified manner on a global basis to anyone who wants to develop with these capabilities. And that's the beauty of it. So you're really allowing the innovator to tap into the intelligence that's in those networks. And that intelligence is phenomenal. And I think I can only imagine the type of things that are going to be invented going forward when they tap into those.
And some of those capabilities that I've been hearing about has a lot to do with security in different ways. So could you elaborate a little bit of some of the opportunities that you see in that area?
Absolutely. I think the fraud, the security space is going to be huge because, well, effectively, if you take a look at all these networks, they are a trusted or an ecosystem, reputational ecosystem. It's a strong reputational ecosystem. We use our phones today, and all what's exposed to those phones, they've got a lot of detail on those phones. They carry our biometrics. They're considered extremely secure. We're exposing some of those securities in new, unique ways, such as number verify, being able to verify a number or prevent fraud by making sure that we can check things on the in a particular use case without the user even knowing that that security is being enhanced on their behalf to protect them. Those are things that happen on a day in and day out basis with a network API.
So instead of having to react on that SMS to verify your identity, it could all happen in the background.
So seamlessly in the background. And I think that opens up the first users are going to be financial institutions. Financial institutions
that would be
always
huge
look
for
for
fintech.
Absolutely. So fintech will really take this on board because right now they've got the traditional, what they call OTPs, one-time passwords that we're all used to back and forth, but that it's almost serially and interrupt-driven type of activity. This would happen in the background with additional security, taking into account not only you being the user and who you are, but identifying your location. Are you where the transaction's happening, for instance? So you get this additional, you get this additional level of security that have always been just out of reach. And I think with network APIs, it's just a small taste of the things to come.
That's great, and really interesting to combine those insights, like you mentioned there, right? But where is the phone? Where is the user? Is there something behind? And combining those data points, providing intelligence into the service.
Absolutely, and for various reasons that has always been available in one place and maybe not available in the other. Now, to be consistently in a place where you can actually share this information or make use of the capabilities of this intelligent network that is already here is a fascinating opportunity that I think is only just beginning.
Great. So I've seen a lot of traction around Aduna already coming out with announcements of partnerships and customers. And I'm not asking you to go into anything in particular as we all see it all coming through. But what can the visitors here at Mobile World Congress expect to see if they come visit you?
Well, we hope they come and visit us.
And they can, right?
We're at the Aduna booth in hall number 2. And what you'll see is you'll see the cast of partners that have already joined this ecosystem. These partners represent a huge portion of the world already. We encourage new partners to join. That's it's a very easy process for them to do so. It doesn't require equity, but it does really foster innovation all around. But what they will see is you'll see who's there, you'll see use cases that are at the booth, you'll see the technology effectively in action. And then during the show, maybe you'll even see another announcement or two. We've been really busy over the last 2 weeks, and we've got the next few weeks are going to be even busier. So we're super excited.
Anthony, you have exciting times ahead really working on that, ambition to connect the ecosystem. Any final words you want to share with our viewers here today?
I just want to welcome anyone to come along the journey with us. I think it's a fantastic journey, whether you're an operator who wants to join. It's not an equity requirement. You're welcome to join, expand that ecosystem. The developers, you're in for a treat when you see the capabilities are going to open up in the next year or two. And I think the more and more people and organizations join that ecosystem, we'll be able to revolutionize applications, how they're written today. And I'm really excited about the potential.
Sounds great. I'm certainly looking to stay tuned to hear all about the announcements coming up as you drive this journey through. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. It's all about opening up the art of the possible.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to talk about all of these things, where the industry is going and how we're driving the change. Any final thoughts from you to share?
I often say anything that can go wireless will go wireless. I think we're entering the era where that really will happen now. And we start to see that we're moving beyond consumer mobile broadband. We're moving into the world where we have one network, many applications running on top of it. And I think that's an exciting future that we're painting here. So we see the situation or the advantages of high-performing programmable networks starting to translate to real business opportunities. And that is really the exciting step. We've been focused, of course, on all the regular features of high performance, but now we combine that with new monetization opportunities. It can be network APIs, it can be mission critical, fixed wireless access, enterprise connectivity. But it's all about growing the total pie for the ecosystem. And that is really where all our energy needs to go in. And I would say it puts actually the operators that are now investing in the programmability as well as the high performance in the networks at an advantage. They will be the ones tapping into this increased revenue pool that we see coming, and that's really exciting.
Thank you so much, Börje, for joining us in this broadcast.
Thank you. It's been great to be with you.
And now we have a couple of exciting days in front of us.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. So as we now move over to the show floor to be greeted by Erik Ekudden, our CTO, and Karin Levander, we will learn more about how we have collaborated with the ecosystem to leverage that technology, to expose all of the capabilities of our technology so that we can cater to those new services, experiences, and also find the monetization opportunities. So at this point, I would like to hand over to Erik and Karin.
Welcome back to another Mobile World Congress and the Ericsson booth in Hall 2. This is a year of many firsts. And we show up completely different this year, not only in terms of design and color, but more prominently in how we display our solutions. Instead of having our regular demo stations, this year we have interactive zones, where we will take our audience on a journey where we explain the use cases and the solution and what step into what's next means for us and the industry. Another one is our in-booth conference program. So over the week, we will host approximately 30 sessions in our 2 theaters. We have invited industry experts, customers, partners to join us how we as an ecosystem transform this industry in totality. A third is this area that we're in right now. This is an open to all area where we invite anyone coming to Mobile World Congress to discuss with us and share our ideas. A tradition, however, is that I once again are joined by our CTO, Erik Ekudden. So glad to have you by my side, Erik.
Good to be here, Karin.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
okay, what are you looking forward to?
Well, the energy just coming into the pavilion is fantastic, and you already mentioned it. This year we are focusing even more on the ecosystem innovation, what we're doing with partners and our customers. And we have more than 100 such partners and customers on display here. So I think it's really inviting. It's really great to be able to have that insightful discussion, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
Definitely.
I think it's one thing also to think about where we are in the industry now. We are moving to full AI-based automation in society in large. We are looking at more on the cloud side when it comes to resilient clouds and having control over your data in the country, for example, but we are also moving into high-performance 5G networks, so advanced connectivity forming that third pillar in the digital infrastructure. And it's all coming together here on display with real deployments.
Definitely, and that's what we're going to show today, you and I. Okay, but let's start, Eric. Okay,
So,
yeah, you talk about how mobile can unlock the next wave of innovations and bring new opportunities. Can you share a little bit more what you mean? Expand it on it.
yeah, it truly does. And I think here's an example. Here we're working in the manufacturing space. We're working with JLR and their partners. And the resilience, robustness of connectivity on the factory floor, as we're demonstrating here, is critical. But it's also to bring a complete solution. So Lithmut, look at Atlas Copco, we have Zebra, Streamwide, Dassault Systems. They are all bringing their pieces into the solution. So we can, in their case, have a reliable, robust infrastructure on the factory floor, but we also get many other benefits, or they get many other benefits as they introduce it across the whole factory, so to say. So I think it's a good example of how the industry is coming together.
Definitely.
It also shows that 5G is becoming the preferred technology. Private 5G networks in a factory, moving from proof of concepts earlier years into real commercial deployments this year. So we are also taking steps to scale the mobile platform, to your point. The innovation and the capabilities have been there for some time. Now we're scaling it across industries.
Yeah. But if we move a little bit towards this area, I know we have something to discuss here on fixed wireless access.
Yeah, so when we talk about scaling the mobile innovation, it's actually quite interesting to see how far we've already come when it comes to connecting non-mobile places, connecting households, connecting small, medium businesses, even enterprises with mobile technologies, with 5G technologies, with fixed wireless access. So here we are showing our latest addition in the small, medium business segment when it comes to fixed wireless access, the X20 on display here. And it's not just great 5G connectivity for your small or medium business, it's also a full-fledged SaaS security solution end-to-end. So the enterprise can, of course, securely connect, but they get the flexibility, the cost efficiency, all of these things comes together in fixed wireless access for the small, medium businesses segment. But speaking of fixed wireless access, Karin, I'm going to ask you now, when you connect households, residential access, how big part of all the world's fixed connectivity is now with mobile technology?
I've heard this quite recently, so I think it's now at about 11%. Is that correct?
It's already 11%.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. But it's growing at an astonishing 13% per year.
What's the reason for the growth?
So in just a few years, we will actually have more like 18%. Well, I think that there are a few good reasons. One is that it's really available more or less everywhere, so you get it very quickly. When you order it, you get it within days, if not hours in some cases. It doesn't take months, so it's a great user experience from that point of view. It's a very good offer, so pricing and kind of cost efficiency, but it also has great net promoter scores. So you see that customers all around the world, they love this kind of broadband service, and it's just continuing to grow, actually.
So undisputedly, we play a big role for the enterprises, of course. But what about the other part of the world, so the consumer business?
Yeah.
What role does 5G play there?
Well, it has played a quite significant role already, because if you look at markets where you have a strong 5G network, you're getting a great user experience, you're getting your gigabit per second, you get the snappy responses. Of course, you get a lot of new great form factors also on smartphones. And I think that has been a success. I would say that 5G in those markets is already creating new revenues and creating opportunities for the operators. But to your point, it's not only about the smartphones.
No.
It's very much about new form factors in the enterprise segment, but also in the consumer segment. So here we show what we're doing with partners such as Apple, Meta, you have the Ray-Ban glasses here.
Yeah.
All of these form factors that when they're connected to a strong 5G network, you get a good end-to-end solution. Of course, this is still in the early days, but I would say that it's pretty attractive when you have these glasses on with an always-on assistant, an AI-powered AI assistant that brings you navigation services. You can get sort of queries, you can get good advice.
Translation, everything.
Even translation.
Yeah.
When you mention translation, it's a good example of where you really need that snappiness.
Yes.
You need it to be there all the time. wherever you are, indoor, outdoor, but also with really good performance. So latency is important, but also the uplink, the fact that you're actually transmitting from your glasses all the way to a far-end cloud and back again. So uplink performance becomes so important. Having a stable link, 5G link, but also to have that uplink capacity, because these glasses, today they only send text and simple voice. In the future they will send video feeds, and of course that will require networks to be dimensioned for even more video traffic, even more uplink traffic. So these things are happening as we speak.
And this is a good smorgasbord of collaboration, right?
It is a good smorgasbord. It's also something that we're very used to do, because this is how we worked in the smartphone era. Now the whole ecosystem is coming together, taking the next step, optimizing networks and, for example, glasses together. So it's a little bit new, and of course combining with what we've done for quite some time.
But we talk about collaboration. What about this area here that we want to mention?
Yes, so this Aduna, hosted in the Ericsson pavilion here in a separate spot. But what we are doing here, Karin, is just to show the latest when it comes to operators coming together. You could look at it as the supply side of network capabilities that are built into the networks, but they are also exposed from operator networks. The Aduna family of operators exposing through the Camara specifications, the Camara interfaces, more or less the same capabilities upwards towards developer platforms, towards enterprise applications that can then consume network capabilities wherever they are in the world, and independent of the capabilities, it would be available on one and the same aggregation platform, and that is what Aduna brings. So Aduna now being as a brand launched very recently, but you saw it already in September last year. The operators from around the world coming together.
Big announcement.
Big announcement.
And it's really, really a milestone to have Aduna here in our pavilion.
Absolutely.
Really. Okay. But now we're shifting gears a bit, and we are going to continue our journey from this open area to the invite-only area with the demos. So, Eric, next up is a much-discussed topic, for sure, where CSP can really harness investments they've already done on 4G and 5G, and now we're bumping into people. You can see that this is live, and there are a lot of people on the floor already. Moving over here, mission critical, Eric.
Yeah.
What do we show here?
So we talk about new 5G network types. We talk about how 5G is entering the homes with fixed wireless access. We talk about mission critical, public safety, defense applications for 5G networks. And this is really what's on display here, how governments actually move very quickly now to adopt 5G for public safety. In fact, this is a market that is growing with some more than 30% per year. So it is a big change now in terms of adopting the latest technology. But it also shows how you can integrate the public network with the public safety network, how you can get the best of both, how you can co-use spectrum, how you can create services that work everywhere by collaborating in the industry. And I think here we are seeing not just a traction with the rollout of networks, we also see how that changes the way public safety work. Connected ambulances, connected police forces with their webcams, that could be done with private 5G network, or it could be done with sliced 5G networks, virtual 5G network, giving a seamless experience for example, blue light or the firefighters there. So this is a great example. It also shows how networks are adding new components. So mission critical, nationwide rolled out typically. In areas where you don't have coverage, you would add complementary satellite, and we're showing how the 5G non-terrestrial network or the 5G satellite component brings that added capability. So coverage, remote spots, and of course for backup. It's a fantastic technology when integrated into handsets, integrated into the networks. So everything from the hardcore public safety and government services and defense services all the way to satellite as a complement.
So now you've talked a little bit about the new use cases that we can see. What about new business models then?
Well, so these are use cases, but there are also new network types, what we showed here, Karin. And thinking about how new use cases may actually require us to drive new business models. So in some of the cases, you need a service all the time, everywhere. In other cases, you would need a service in a particular spot at a particular time of day. So you need that service to be available where you need it and when you need it. You
With
need
flexibility.
Flexibility,
Yeah.
you need it to be dynamic. And dynamic, of course, means that you need payment services that go with that. So it's not just the capability, the technical capability that needs to be available where you need it and when you need it. For example, a network slice that is used for a high definition camera needs to be available. Being able to transmit some 35 or 40 megabit per second in the uplink. You also need to find ways to charge for it, so the monetization part of it. And that's where the new business model comes in. So here we are exploring how operators can add to the existing business models new flexible ways to pay for services and also to consume them over open network APIs. It is a start because you saw what we're doing with Aduna as the foundation, the aggregation, creating the unified supply of network capabilities. Here we are connecting it to the business models that allows operators then to engage with enterprises and applications, charge for services when they need it and where they need it. And there's going to be much more granular going forward. Today it's in the area of, let's say, banking, financial services, fraud prevention. You can use the security and the authentication mechanisms that are available in the networks today, the 4G and 5G networks. In the future, you will be able to order quality on demand. You will be able to order also advanced positioning and sensing services all over these new business models. So it comes together, but of course it's a stepwise journey.
And this, of course, will also open up to a whole new area of partners. And we have, as you mentioned before, so many partners here this year with us. To name a few, we have Apple, we have Meta, we have Microsoft, we have the Toyota car just over here. We also have one cool use case, I want to say cool, with NVIDIA. And Matthias, what do we show here? Now
Hello,
I just
Matthias.
need a microphone.
Yeah. Good to see you.
There you go.
So this is great partnership, NVIDIA and Ericsson, and we also work with operators in this space. So tell me, what are you really showing here? What's on display?
Here we show a combination of platforms for service innovation. So basically 5G together with NVIDIA Omniverse Cloud. We have then a virtual car that you can experience live then in these glasses that my colleague has here. It is the level of detail and the quality of the experience is immense.
Yeah.
It is fantastic.
It's actually great when you look at that small screen now, but you can see how photorealistic it is. Of course, for those in the room here, they notice that there is no car here, but it's on display here, so absolutely great quality.
Yeah, it is, and we have had people crawling on the floor, trying to look under the car, and so it's really, when you have the glasses on, it's like a real car. Fantastic. Yeah.
So for the showroom, it's an obvious thing. How do you see this as a technology, 5G and this kind of digital twin technology, immersive experiences going into production?
I think basically it's commercial, just to commercialize. That is the key step. Everything is here. The ecosystem is here. All the players are in here, and you have, of course, the most important players. In this case, the car dealers and the car manufacturers are super interested in this type of service. So it's just to make it happen.
I think we've come to that point now when it's truly available and, as you said, on display here, but there are some of the leading car OEMs, they are adopting the technology for showrooms, but also into their production. So great, thanks. And thanks for the partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Karin.
Yeah. Where are we heading now?
Well, I think now we've talked quite a lot about how networks will be used. New use cases, new network types, new partnerships. Why don't we go a little bit more into the network itself?
Yes.
And
Core.
there are a few very important trends here. One is obviously the way that we automate, use AI in the networks. So moving towards autonomous networks. Level 3, ultimately level 4 and level 5, where we actually reduce or take away the complexity of running networks by people. We're moving into autonomous networks. But it is also powered by the intents from the highest level, from the business level to the service level, down to the domain and the resource level. And here's one great example of how we're working with partners also on the resource intent the resource layer with the SMO and the RAP ecosystem. So working with an open platform, Ericsson's EIAP platform, the SMO platform, working with an open marketplace for developers, company startups and bigger companies that can work on their RAPs. Some of them AI powered, some of them more simple applications to start with. But that comes together as a very strong proposition. And now we've seen some recent announcement with operators both from North America and from Southeast Asia, where this platform is becoming an integral part and an important part of their autonomous journey for networks. So I think it's a great example, but it's just one, because if you look around here, you see that on the core side, on the orchestration side, on the network management side, AI comes into all pieces of this, and not just to create a more efficient operation of the network, it's also to create innovation, making sure that you can do things in new way, offer new services faster, more agile, and ultimately create more value, more revenue for the operators as they adopt these technologies. So.
But what steps does the CSP need to take in order to prepare their networks for these new innovations and opportunities?
Yeah, it's a good point, because some of these things can be done with existing networks, Karin, but the real trick is when you have a nationwide 5G network rolled out with mid-band and low-band using carrier aggregation. When that radio network layer is available and you're upgrading to standalone core network, then you can start to offer these differentiated services. You can start to offer both public safety, enterprises, consumer services on one and the same network. And of course, it starts with a programmable, high-performance programmable network gear, goes through the SMO and the RAPs, all the way to the orchestration and the intent-based AI layer. But it really starts with that. Nationwide 5G in mid-band and low-band, carrier aggregation, standalone to be able to offer differentiated services, slicing and exposure. And then you're at the layer where you can connect that to developers over the Aduna platform, over to developers in their preferred platform, be it a Vonage platform, be it, as we announced the other day, could be a Google platform, or basically anyone else that has developers on their platforms.
And this is happening really here and now.
It's happening here and now, but Definitely. It really starts with a foundation of a strong 5G network nationwide.
Yeah, but the here and now, if we the theme of this year's Mobile Congress is step into what's next. So why don't you and I step into what's next? So, although all is about 5G, we of course are looking to the future. And one topic that will be highlighted here on the floor is the 6G advances that we're making. But we have here 6G radio test beds and solutions straight from our labs. But Eric, I want to ask you, what is next up for 6G?
So we already passed from 5G advanced, and it's an evolution towards the next generation. And you can see that very clear when it comes to the core network, the AI pieces. They are evolving over the years to come. So that's an evolutionary path. On the radio side, we're actually already moving from research into the early standardization of 6G as an air interface. And that's happening in 2025. It's been mainly research so far. Now we're really starting that first phase of standardization to be able to have new spectrum and new air interface around 2030. So it's an evolution on the core network side, but it's also an evolution on the radio side. So from 5G advanced, now we didn't look into the 5G advanced capabilities, but there's plenty of capabilities, both software and hardware capabilities that comes with 5G advanced. And then we are looking at an upgrade when new spectrum is available and when we have the new sort of 6G radio. So what we are showing here is how we work with partners, the Ericsson implementation, the Ericsson lab activities, the Ericsson testbed, working with partners such as Keysight here on the device side, being able to test things before it's standardized. Again, showing how we work with a partnership or with partners in the ecosystem. But again, it's pretty amazing what you see here with the 60 centimeter wave radios. And just behind you,
yes,
I guess you know what this is.
This piece.
Yeah.
Is it the Programmable?
It's the 60 mobile. It's a little bit big still, doesn't really fit in your pocket, but this is really the best way to explore and drive technology development, to have real test beds, to be able to not just test propagation, but to look at the complete radio network as it needs to evolve and be standardized over the coming years. So this is also where we work with partners on the testbed side, on the device side, but also on the antenna side. So it all comes together similar to how it's been done in previous generation when it comes to the air interface. You need to take step by step. So the ecosystem with chipsets needs to be ready. Of course, standardization, the protocols, everything has to be done. It will take some years, but we're starting that journey now in 2025.
Definitely. So that's also happening. It's not something we're just looking at the future.
No, it's happening now. You're right.
And I also want to highlight that we later today have a session on 6G called 6G, Are We Ambitious Enough?, where we have gathered customers and partners, and also Nokia actually coming to discuss with us what are the key priorities and what do we need to focus on to make this change happening stepwise, as we discussed. Okay, Erik, we're nearing the end of our tour, but do you have any final thoughts or reflections as we walk through?
Well, first of all, it's really about 2025 as the year where we're moving from proof of concept in many, many industries to commercial deployment. You see the mobile platform is scaling, and I think we see a lot of evidence of that. But I mean, the big takeaway from me is that when we work with all these fantastic partners, and you've seen the 100 or so that we have on display here, you get very comforted that indeed this is changing the industry at its core, and it's not changing only from a technology and system perspective. It's really changing from a business perspective. Definitely. Business models are changing, new value is derived or extracted, and it's really governments and enterprises, and then of course there are consumer services, as we saw as well with glasses and fantastic experiences. But it's a really big change that we're going through as we speak. So this next wave of mobile innovation is just kind of starting, and what better way to expose that? What better way than to work with our partners in the whole ecosystem? So I really get excited by that.
Yes, me too, agree. And I think I heard that over 20% of the business builders here are from our partners and customers.
That's true.
That's quite impressive. Yeah. Thank you so much, Erik, for taking this tour with me.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you all that has joined this broadcast. We're so happy to host you. But this doesn't stop here. The journey continues actually on social with Jasmine here. Jasmine, what have you planned for the rest of the week?
Thank you. So we're very excited to have everyone over on social media. And we obviously have it on Instagram at Inside Ericsson, but also on X and Facebook and LinkedIn at Ericsson. So make sure to follow along with the hashtag EricssonMWC. And we also, of course, want to showcase what's happening on the floor. We've got things like sustainability, we've got a tram that we're looking into, but then we're also interviewing our customers and our partners to really talk about what's happening, what does it look like to work together, what are we doing here as a group on the floor. So a lot of exciting things.
Especially closing that loop on the ecosystem that we have put forward quite prominently in this broadcast. So make sure to stay tuned for what's coming next, and thank you so much for joining the broadcast.